Zelda Dyer was her name, and Willard Dyer was his name. My foster mom and dad. My foster mom was very, very dominating. I mean, she dominated my dad like, wow. And of course, once in a while he would blow his temper and yell back, but most of the time he just took it. I had a tough time with that. He was a lot nicer than my mom was. I mean, he had his temper, and he was kind of a later on in life, his life, and this was, I'm trying to think, this was before they adopted Patty. He became a fanatic at church, and I mean, he was really a fanatic, and I was at the point they went all day Sunday and every Wednesday night, and I was getting tired of it. I didn't want to go anymore. So I remember one Sunday I said, I don't want to go, and he took his Bible and hit me upside the head, about knocked me out. Get dressed, you're going to church. So I did, I got dressed. But then all of a sudden, my dad believed it in the Bible to the point that it says tithe. And he was hell-bent on tithing, 10%. Well, things were really tight money-wise, because he had had 3 or 4 jobs and lost them and had to move to another one. Well, my mom said no tithing. So they had a big argument about that, and he said, if I can't tithe, I ain't going to church. So he quit, never went back. And that was, gosh, I was a senior in high school. So that was a long time. He never went back to a church after that. I don't think it was a hostility toward God, it was a hostility toward church. Okay. Because she didn't want no part of any church. Because all they want to talk about is money, according to her. She was dominating with everything. With everything. The lifestyle change was a shocker to my system. Because as a kid in Cincinnati, I was able to run and do whatever I wanted. And even with the foster parents, I mean, they got us bicycles and we could take off and be gone all day, you know, as long as we checked in every once in a while. When I got here, I wasn't allowed out of my driveway. And my driveway is about as long as this room is. I even got a new bicycle and I could only ride it up and down the driveway. I wasn't allowed out of the driveway. It was like that for several years. The 2 friends that I made up with, the 2 closest friends I had was Rick and Jim Dansize, and I wasn't allowed to associate with them because they were riffraff. I wasn't allowed to associate with them, so I used to, Jim and I went to the same school, high school. Rick went to a different one. We all went to the same grade school. And I used to walk up to the corner by the railroad tracks and wait, and then they'd come up and then we'd go to school together, and same with coming home. We'd walk that far and then split up. And Rick went to McKinley and Jim and I went to Timken. I took electric shop and Jim took printing. And when I was in the 8th grade, I had about 2 months to go in school. I got a job at a grocery store. It was one of these grocery stores where they took orders over the phone and delivered it. And when they would take the orders, I would fill the orders in baskets for the guy to deliver. And then in between I'd stock shelves and clean and, you know, mop up and stuff like that. And I got paid 25 cents an hour. Man, I made like, I think it was like $5 a week, and I thought I was in the chips too. But I lost that job. They let me go for some reason, I don't know why. Well, for one thing, he wanted 2 people, and I brought Rick in, Rick Dansize in, and he kept Rick and let me go. And that's when my mom said I couldn't associate with him anymore, because he stole my job. I said, he didn't steal my job, I lost the job. They kept the best guy. He was a better worker than me, obviously. He just said he didn't need me anymore. It was called People's Grocery Store. It was on the corner. It was on Mahoning and corner of Mahoning and 6th, at the Y there, where the Y is. It's tore down now. It's vacant. They tore the whole building down. I like that job though. They adopted Patty when I was a freshman in high school. They adopted my adopted sister Patty when I was a freshman in high school, and I was jealous because, first of all, my mom was working then and my dad was both working, and I had to get her up every morning and get her ready for school before I went to school. But anyway, I worked all through high school, I got a job in the cafeteria at lunchtime to pay for my lunch. All 4 years I worked there to pay for my lunch. The rest of the guys after lunch would go down and they'd show a movie every week, you know, so much at lunchtime until they get the whole movie. But I didn't. I washed trays, dumped trays when the kids brought them up, and then run them through the dishwasher and dried them when they come out. And I also, when I was in high school, I got a job at a place called Emery's Variety Store way out on East Tusk. And I walked from Timken High School to work every night after work. Then in my junior year, one of the guys that was in my class with me got me a job where he worked. A place called Holton Engine Rebuilders. It was out where Jackson Township is now. I don't remember exactly the location, but I worked there after school at nights, tearing engines down. They'd bring these big V8 engines in, and we had to take them all apart and then put chains on and lower the blocks down in big vats and boil all the grease off of them and everything, pull them out and hose them down. And so I worked there through the school year, and then when summer came, I stayed with them, and they moved me up to, I was water testing engines after they were rebuilt. We put a block over where the water pump goes and put a cap on and put pressure on them to make sure the frost plugs weren't leaking. And if they weren't, then I'd spray paint them. I remember painting green for regular and red for high performance engines. So I stayed there and worked until my senior year. And in my senior year, I got a job at Nichols Bakery Company. It was down on Walnut Street, down on about Walnut and 3rd Southeast, 3rd or 4th Southeast. I used to walk from Timken down there, and then I worked there from after school till midnight, and then walk home down on Sandal's place every night. I made pretty good money there too, I remember, at the time, because I gave it all to my mom, because by then they were having trouble making ends meet. So I'd give her the money. 6 months before I graduated, I decided I had enough of this lifestyle. I can't take it anymore. So I went down and I joined the Navy. Well, it was during the Korean War. And my brother, incidentally, going back a little bit, I had gotten a letter a year before my brother had been killed in Korea. So I had already made up my mind that when I graduated, I was going to join the service, probably the Navy, and go defend my brother. You know how that is. I graduated like June 26th and went into the Navy July 3rd. So it was like a week after I graduated. But now Denny, she was pregnant with Denny. Now she got pregnant, incidentally. I went in the Navy on July the 3rd, and he was born the month after, August 3rd, almost to the day, 30 days after I went into the service.